لا خلونا على الانجليزي لانه ما يصير في تضارب اذا بدنا نفوت
الو.
هونيك نعمل عربي. لا يا عمي.
ترجم. هيلا بس افتحها.
افتحها العربي اذا بدك لانه رح يشتغلوا مع بعضهم. شكلهم بدهم يبلشوا يا عمي.
خليه مفتوح.
Je t'embrasse. Ça va bien? Ça va ماشي الحال. يلا بشوفك.
طيب يلا خلص نتحلل.
السيدات والسادة المشاركين، السيدات
Ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, you have 2 rooms available, namely committee room number 1 and committee room number 2, in order to live stream the opening ceremony live. If it's impossible for you to find a seating place in this room, then the 2 other rooms are available and at your service. Thank you.
1 2 تيست 1. أخذ. خليه مفتوح.
إيميل حبيبي، إيميل مين بيقعد هون؟ بدك إنه نعمل announcement؟ السيدات والسادة.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the UN House. Kindly be seated to start with the opening ceremony of the Arab Forum for Sustainable Development 2019.
دولة رئيس مجلس النواب الأستاذ.
Excellency Speaker of the House, Mr. Nabih Berri, represented by Her Excellency Mrs. Inaya Izzeddin, Excellency Saad Hariri, Prime Minister of Lebanon, represented by Her Excellency Mrs. Bahia Hariri, Excellency Mrs. Amina Muhammad, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Excellency Mr. Ahmed Abul Ghait, Secretary General of the League of Arab States, Excellency Mr. Nouri Abdullaimi, Minister of Planning of Iraq, Excellency Mrs. Rula Dashti, Under Secretary General, Executive Secretary of the UN ESQUAM, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. If Rafiq Hariri, who is standing before the Grand Serai, if he shall look to his right, he shall rest assured that ESQUAM is still in Beirut. And he shall as well rest assured that this Arab and international forum, which he had worked towards its re-establishment in the Lebanese capital, is still hosting delegates who are coming to the city of the laws and who are still breathing its scents and its odors in order to showcase the best development policies that are developed from Lebanon. And it is from this forum that Rafiq Hariri had called on the Arabs to exercise utmost democracy. Back then, this initiative and this invitation had actually been the showcase and has actually been the most important event of the forum. And from this tribune, the ESQUAM has declared that Lebanon has won the International Award for Reconstruction, which was embodied by His Excellency late Rafiq Hariri, to pay tribute to all his accomplishments. This is why the people of ESQUAM, all new and old caste, will always remember deep inside the man who has believed in the work of ESQUA and in its establishment, which has made Lebanon's capital the host and the UN home in Beirut. And this is how we all have the most beautiful remembrance, the most beautiful souvenir, and a souvenir just like love, never shy away and never die. Ladies and gentlemen, from this tribune, we have seen executive secretaries taking the floor, and they have all been men of experiences and persons with enlightenment, development, diplomacy, and political skills. And today, We are under the umbrella of Rula Dashti, a person with utmost experience, a lady of utmost experience and skills, who believes in the skills of the young ESCWA and in the Arab youth, and a deep faith in the importance of the role of Arab women, and a deep faith in the opportunities that are made available by the region despite the different challenges and the obstacles. I am now honored to give the floor to Her Excellency Mrs. Rula Dashti, Under Secretary General, Executive Secretary of the UNESCO, to give her opening remarks. Thank you.
صباح الخير جميعا.
Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Excellency Saad Hariri, Prime Minister of Lebanon, represented by Excellency Mrs. Bahia Hariri, Excellency Secretary General of the League of Arab States, Mr. Ahmed Abul Ghais, Excellency Dr. Nouri Dulaimi, Minister of Planning of Iraq, Mrs. Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of ESCWA, I would like to welcome you all to the United Nations House in Beirut. I warmly thank Prime Minister Saad Hariri, represented by Her Excellency Mrs. Bahia Hariri, for his continued support. I would also like to thank Lebanon for chairing the 2018 Arab Forum for Sustainable Development, which the Republic of Iraq is kindly chairing this year. We meet today on yet another occasion to renew our strong partnership with the League of Arab States, the United Nations family, the civil society, and the private sector. This forum embodies a spirit of collaboration and integration that is no longer an option, but an absolute necessity. An integration that reflects the underlying ethos of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which promises to leave no one behind. We come together today at a forum hosted annually by ESCWA to examine the state of sustainable development in our region. We meet under the theme Empowering People and Ensuring Inclusiveness and Equality in the Arab World. And we forge solutions. And we wonder, are we working towards the development, and we are exploring pathways for the region and its citizens to be on the right development track? Arab states' voluntary national reviews reveal progress that calls for optimism. Most states have adopted long-term development plans and more inclusive approaches. They have made progress in education, in formulating environmental protection policies, and in enshrining human rights in constitutions. Our region is enriched with 100 million young people who are capable of advancing society and transforming our world if given the opportunity to be more actively involved in the economy and in politics. Despite progress made, there is still a long way to go to achieve inclusive, fair, and sustainable development. Climate change and water scarcity threaten the region's stability. Multidimensional poverty affects 40% of the population. Youth unemployment is at 30%, the highest worldwide. The middle class, the backbone of societies, is being eroded. Stark income disparities exist in some Arab countries. The number of persons with disabilities has reached 11 million, with potential daily increases as a result of conflicts. The number of older persons will exceed 100 million by 2050, aging under weak social protection systems in most Arab countries. War and conflict, displacement and expatriation, the longest occupation in modern history, rapid transformations and changes, which know no borders and redraw our region's features. ESCWA is keeping pace with those rapid developments. It has adopted a comprehensive view that draws its strength from collaboration with the League of Arab States, United Nations development entities, the revamped resident coordinator system, regional organizations, civil society, and the private sector. Ladies and gentlemen, young people are our opportunity for renewal. I am pleased to announce that we recently established Young ESQA for both men and women. Our vision is to involve young people in internal reforms aimed at revitalizing ESQA, updating its working methods, and increasing its effectiveness and efficiency to make it fit for purpose. ESQA is striving to be a modern, flexible, youthful, and reinvigorated institution which keeps step with rapid developments. We will adopt new technologies and innovation to implement our vision and improve our working methods. Our objective under the United Nations Development System and in collaboration with resident coordinators is to provide more relevant services to the Arab region and its peoples so as to help them build entrepreneurial and knowledge societies, transition towards the fourth industrial revolution, and confidently move forward with a clear direction of travel in their development path. This approach is based on a firm belief that the region holds enormous potential and opportunities. Distinguished guests, a society cannot prosper without human dignity and social justice. In our region, many people continue to be left behind. Today, we highlight their plight with photographs that remind us of our human and ethical duty to protect their dignity and achieve social justice for them. In conclusion, I invite you to work together tenaciously and determinedly to ensure a safe and promising future where no one is left behind. I am aware that we face great challenges, but our determination is greater. A determination driven by the strength of our women, the wisdom of our elders, the enthusiasm of our young people, and the passion of our children. Let us arm ourselves with the determination to advance our societies and ensure a brighter future for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Rula Dashti, Under-Secretary General and Executive Secretary, for your speech. His Excellency Mr. Nouri Al-Dulaimi chairs this year the Arab Forum for Sustainable Development. He has especially come from Iraq in order to take part to this forum despite being very busy, because he believes that it is very essential to attain the sustainable development goals for the Arab region and to attain the aspirations that are set forth by this forum. We yield the floor to His Excellency Mr. Nouri Al-Dulaimi.
دولة رئيس الوزراء سعد الحريري ممثلا.
His Excellency Saad Hariri, Prime Minister of Lebanon, represented by Her Excellency Bahia Hariri, Mrs. Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, His Excellency Speaker of the Lebanese Republic, represented by Her Excellency Deputy Mrs. Inaya Mohammed, Your Excellency Ahmed Abul Ghaid, Secretary General of the League of Arab States, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. with respect to all those present here, I would like to greet you all present here. It is a great pleasure, first and foremost, to convey the greetings of the government and citizens of Iraq. I would also like to extend my deepest thanks to His Excellency Prime Minister and the Lebanese citizens for their warm welcome. And we would also like to extend our thanks to our partners, UNESCO, for organizing this forum. Ladies and gentlemen, the Arab Forum for Sustainable Development is an essential dialogue platform in order to shed the lights on pivotal matters to all of us, including the Voluntary National Reviews VNRs for 2030 agenda, considering it is one of the main tools in order to better enshrine the belonging and also to get the commitment of all those stakeholders in the sustainable development process. This forum is furthermore important in order to shed the lights on all successful experiences and also to look into any partnerships. This forum is also essential for a good positive environment in order to include participatory approaches that will contribute to an awareness revival vis-a-vis sustainable development in all its facets and for the good use of resources so that these resources will last for the future generations. In our participation at this scientific and cultural forum, we will discuss with your excellencies objectives that are pivotal and paramount that have been selected in cooperation with the high-level forum that will be held this year in New York, and these are the 4th, 8th, 10th, 13th, 16th, and 17th objectives that seek to build a better future for the human being and also to better reinforce its social, economic, financial, and non-financial status by enhancing education, by mitigating poverty, by removing all instability sources, and by improving the commercial affairs, and also to encourage all societies for better inclusion in order to better encourage everyone to participate in social and economic activities, mainly the youth. It's also essential to empower women to be included in the economic market and to have a good management for resources and also to mitigate climate change effects and also to have renewable energy sources in order to have a better sustainable development for the future. At this backdrop, these development goals should always be reviewed in order to look into progress made and also to reinforce the importance of sustainable development within the agenda of 2030. Ladies and gentlemen, the political, security, social and environmental challenges have directly impacted the status of the Arabic societies, mainly in Iraq, which has caused a great influx and outflux of displacement and migration. This calls upon everyone to redetermine priorities on all fields and to provide a secure environment in order to be able to establish the development goals. Climate change also calls upon all of us in order to mitigate its effects and to run this crisis in a participatory approach, mainly as regards the lack of drinking water and water resources quotas. Here we would like to reassure the importance of benefiting from a competitive market spearheaded by the private sector in order to better reinforce the intellectual property and also to protect the rights of local and foreign investors. We at the Ministry of Planning, we are serious in revitalizing the role of the private sector and in creating a higher council for the private sector in order to better establish any pillars for future success. Ladies and gentlemen, continuing with the Sustainable Development Agenda for 2030 and its review are important processes in order to achieve the development sustainable goals. And here, VNRs play important roles for the Agenda 2030 that will be in line with the priorities and needs of each and every state in order to continue the implementation of any plan for inclusiveness and participation in order to achieve the national priorities. We might be hopeful that the states of ESCWA have taken long strides on the pathway towards sustainable development, because many of these states have achieved their VNRs and thus translating the commitment of their governments into sustainable development. We are still awaiting other VNRs for states presenting their reports for the first time. We in Iraq, we will be ready to present our report this year. In conclusion, we would like to extend our deepest thanks and appreciation for all efforts and contributions that will further enrich the Arabic experience, and all lessons learned that will be the fruit of a continuous and participatory work between ESCWA and other UN agencies and Arab countries since 2015. I would like to reiterate our thanks to His Prime Minister and to everyone for their warm welcome. We are certain that His Excellency has a good commitment to achieve development goals within the ESCWA states and everywhere. Thank you so much for your attention.
شكرا لمعالي الوزير نور الدليمي.
Thank you, Excellency Mr. Noor Al-Dulaimi, for your speech. Excellency, the Secretary General of the League of Arab States, His Excellency Mr. Ahmed Abul Ghait, you are most welcome, and we would like to thank you for your outstanding support to the deep partnership between the UN and the League of Arab States. I'd like as well to thank him for his unconditional support to ESCWA and for the joint endeavors aimed at achieving the Sustainable Development Goals on the level of the Arab region. I'm honored to call on stage His Excellency, the Secretary General of the League of Arab States, Mr. Ahmed Abul Ghait.
سيدة بهية هانم الحريري.
Excellency Mrs. Bahia Hariri, representing His Excellency Saad Hariri, Prime Minister of Lebanon. Excellency Mrs. Inaya Izzeddin, representing His Excellency the Speaker of the House, Mr. Nabih Berri. Excellency Mrs. Amina Muhammad, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. Excellency Mr. Nouri Al-Dulaimi, Minister of Planning of Iraq and Chair of the Forum for the year 2019. Excellency Mrs. Rula Dashti, Under-Secretary General, Executive Secretary of the UNESCO. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me first and foremost to congratulate Mrs. Rula for being appointed Executive Secretary to the UNESCO, and I'm confident that her long-standing experience and her insightful efforts will contribute to developing the very important partnership between the League of Arab States and ESCWA on more than one vital level. And in fact, I would like to thank you, Excellency, and I would like to thank as well Mr. Muhammad Ali Al-Hakim, because ever since he was appointed 2 years and a half, and I find ESCWA and the League of Arab States always together. I find them working in tandem together on all levels, on the economic and social levels, on the cultural forums, and this is very important, which could actually give a very positive impact for the whole region. And I'm very happy today at the opening of the Arab Forum for Sustainable Development 2019 which is held a couple of days after the end of the Arab Summit, the 30th meeting of the Arab Summit held in Tunisia, and 3 months after the end of the socio-economic development summit, which was held in its 4th edition here in Beirut on January 2019. 2 summits having produced a series of economic decisions and social decisions that are very important and that are related to the welfare of the Arab citizen and his daily life, and in ensuring a better future for the next generations. The League of Arab States is still the very important organization that is working on the different levels of development. And this, of course, encompasses working in economy, in social affairs, in the environment, in housing, in health, in education, let alone many other vital issues that are intimately related to the life of an Arab citizen. And it is as well the vessel that is encompassing the different activities that are taken to coordinate between the Arab organizations that are working on this level. Okay. The Arab Summit was actually held in Beirut in January. The Arab Socio-Economic Summit was held in Beirut after 6 years. And I believe that the holding of this summit within the framework of the joint Arab undertakings is actually a proof that we as Arab governments have realized that the challenges before the Arab world are very complex, are very intertwined and interrelated, and that fighting these challenges can only be possible by means of a joint undertaking that sheds the light on the socio-economic aspects that goes hand in hand with the political and security challenges and problems. The past years were very difficult, and the region has now regained largely its balance. And I believe that the Arab Forum for Sustainable Development is a very important forum. It's an occasion that we need to seize, considering, of course, its connection with the outcomes of the Beirut Summit for Socio-Economic Development, and which has worked in light with the Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals that were embedded in the recommendations. For example, the summit has actually focused on the Arab Strategic Project for combating the multidimensional poverty for 2030, which is actually a framework that develops the Arab efforts intended to achieve comprehensive social development in the Arab world. And it is as well intended to reduce the multidimensional poverty index by 50% in 2030. And the government, the Beirut Summit, has as well encouraged the initiative of the portfolio, which is the pink portfolio that is very important for the health of Arab women. And this is, of course, within the Agenda 2030 that is related to ensuring that all people have a healthy livelihood, regardless of the age. In addition to adopting the document for the methodology of work for the households and for the families in the Arab world, and this is very important for the development of families in the Arab countries, which lies within, of course, the Agenda 2030. The Arab Forum for Sustainable Development 2019 is held 4 years after the adoption of the 2030 Agenda, and under one very important motto and the slogan that carries very important dimensions, namely empowering people and ensuring inclusiveness and equality in the Arab region. And here, of course, I would like very briefly to refer to some pivotal steps that were taken by the League of Arab States within this framework, starting with the adoption by the 27th Arab Summit in Nouakchott in July 2016, a decision to establish an Arab mechanism that will follow up on the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals in the Arab world. And this is, of course, related to encouraging and enhancing cooperation with the United Nations and the relevant agencies, and supporting the Arab countries in the implementation of the national plans, and the establishment of the Arab Committee for following up on the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, which since its inception has been positively welcomed and hosted by the Arab countries which has led to the Arab framework, which is a guiding framework for the establishment of the Agenda 2030. And here I can say that the League of Arab States has taken the initiative in the establishment of this perspective and in helping Arab states and Arab countries for the establishment of the Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals, and which have been kick-started by means of the relevant department at the League of Arab States. This has as well established the subcommittee on combating poverty, which is intended to combating the goal the second goal, which is zero hunger, and which goes hand in hand with other goals and outcomes, which will lead to an initiative putting an end to hunger in the Arab world. And here, of course, I cannot but underline some of the very important points that reflect the League of Arab States perspective to the achievement of the Agenda 2030, which is a focal point for this year's forum. First of all, we see that it is crucial to better focus on actually bridging the gap when it comes to the different levels of science, technology, information, innovation, and to bridge the gap between developed and developing countries. Because, of course, innovation and creativity is the backbone in any economy, and let alone the international economy. Second, to develop industry as well, the industrialization, since this is the best mean to combating poverty, and this is, of course, in light of the job opportunities, and since it is a gateway to accommodating the largest number of the labor, which will reduce the levels of unemployment and which will contribute to overcoming the socio-economic challenges, which is something that is very important and that requires that a proper environment is found for the development of the industry on the national levels in the developing countries, be it by means of drafting more efficient legislations when it comes to integration in the international trade, or by means as well of contributing to the financing, which will establish or which will develop, of course, the funding as well as foreign investments. Second, it's very important to have regional steps taken in order to combat climate change, pollution, desertification, and droughts. And this is very important, which highlights the importance of developing the sources of renewable energy, of the new energy as well, and to resorting to the peaceful uses of the nuclear energy in order to achieve sustainable development. And here, of course, I would like to separate and differentiate between the financing of the climate change activities and the financing of the development activities in general, which actually goes hand in hand with the joint participation and partnership while sharing the burden. Fourth, the importance of respecting the human rights as internationally recognized, as well as the principles of the international law, which is related to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, especially the right to development, the right to food, to nutrition, and to safe drinking water, to health, to name a few. In addition to, of course, the principles of the rule of the law, of the sovereignty of the law, and the gender equality, while focusing at the same time on ensuring a full respect of the international religious and moral values, in addition to the social values of the countries within the implementation of the development activities, which goes hand in hand with the national projects and with the priorities of development. To conclude, I would like to thank Her Excellency Mrs. Noor Al-Dashti, Under-Secretary General, for the kind invitation addressed to the League of Arab States to take part in this very important forum, and I wish you all success for your undertakings this year. Thank you very much. Thank you, Your Excellency, the Secretary General of the League of Arab States, Mr. Ahmed Aboulghaid, for your kind speech. Our guest from the United Nations today, has played a pivotal role in the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals and the Agenda 2030, including, of course, all the goals that you have seen in the Sustainable Development Goals. She is the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Mrs. Amina Mohammed. And throughout her presence in Beirut, Mrs. Amina Mohammed is meeting with high-ranking officials in Lebanon, in addition to the high-ranking officials at the United Nations. She had met yesterday with the colleagues who are working at the United Nations, and today in the afternoon she is holding a press conference at 3:30 at the UN House here, where she will be talking about the results of the forum, and she will be talking about as well, she will be discussing the main highlights of her discussions with the Arab officials. Now we shall listen to the speech delivered by Her Excellency Mrs. Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations.
Your Excellency, Mr. Nabi Berri, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, ably represented by Her Excellency, Ms. Anaya Izzuddin, His Excellency, Mr. Saeed Hariri, the President of the Council of Ministers of the Lebanese Republic, ably represented by Her Excellency, Mrs. Bahia Hariri. Your Excellency, where is my brother, Mr. Ahmed Abu Gheit, the Secretary General of the League of Arab States, my sister, Mr. Rola Dashti, and our Minister of Planning from the Republic of Iraq. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to be here today, and I thank the government of Lebanon for its warm welcome and hospitality. This year, participating in all the regional forums across the 5 regions is a priority for the Secretary General and myself. 2019 is a defining year for the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the regional forums that pave the way for our first stock-taking of the SDGs during the General Assembly in September. This region has a key role to play. It is firmly rooted in a shared cultural, linguistic, and historical heritage. Its youth, economic growth, vast financial resources, digital infrastructure, innovative technologies, and active private sector presence, boundless potential and opportunities. And despite the painful effects of crisis and conflicts, I am encouraged to see the persistent commitment of the countries of the region to achieve questions. The first, who are the no ones that we pledge not to leave behind, and what determines their exclusion? What does it mean to feel included or excluded? Are we doing enough collectively to empower all our members of the human family? These are not theoretical questions confined to conference rooms in New York, Beirut, or elsewhere. These are real-life dilemmas for billions around the world who look to the 2030 Agenda with hope for a better future. And let us be frank, we are not on track to deliver our ambitions that we set ourselves in 2015. The data starting to emerge indicates that the world needs a significant step up in action and investments if we are to achieve the SDGs. In the Arab region, as in many other regions, countries and communities are struggling to tackle an expanding list of challenges, including insufficient growth, unemployment, inequality, climate change, and natural disasters. Waves of displacement are a daily and often devastating reminder of the shrinking opportunities for a dignified life for so many. Today, 1 in 4 children in the Arab region experiences acute poverty. 1/4 of those aged between 5 and 17 are not enrolled in school or have fallen 2 grades behind. Women still face high barriers to enter the labor market and are at a higher risk of unemployment than men. Among young women, unemployment rates are the highest in the world at 48%. The region has the fewest laws protecting women from domestic violence of any region in the world. The Arab region is also home to 14 of the world's 20 most water-stressed countries. Rapid urbanization, expected to exceed 68% by 2050, is putting a lot of pressure on energy and other natural resources, and 28% of all residents in the region are living in slums or informal settlements. Conflict in the region not only exacerbates these challenges, but sadly creates new ones. Large-scale losses of life, destruction of infrastructure, in some instances entire cities, as well as displacement and ensuing humanitarian crisis, are only just some of those consequences. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, equitable, inclusive, and sustainable development is the surest way to avert such tragedies. And there are abundant examples in this region that point the way forward to empowerment and inclusion. Our shared challenge is to increase the scale of the ambition and accelerate implementation of the 2030 Agenda. Allow me to highlight 3 drivers of the transformations that we seek. First, we need to break down the silos that constrain policy action across sectoral lines. The paradigm shift ushered in by the 2030 Agenda is not complete unless we have fully transitioned from the Millennium Development Goals into the era of the SDGs. For example, addressing climate change is not only about preventing catastrophic events, reducing the use of fossil fuels also has a direct and immediate benefit on health. We must recognize the interdependence of these issues and act of them in a holistic way. Second, we need to match intentions with finance, both public and private. We are still far from the trillions that are required to achieve the SDGs everywhere for everyone. The Secretary General's strategy for financing the 2030 Agenda sets out his vision to, together with the UN system, support countries mobilize the investments that are needed to meet their national SDG targets. Third, we must take partnerships to the next level. We will not achieve the 2030 Agenda, nor win the race against climate change without involving all sectors of society towards our common goals. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as you take these steps, you can count on the United Nations, and in particular in this region, ESCWA, to continue to transform the way it operates and better supports your efforts. The Secretary General is leading a wide-ranging reform of the UN, making us more fit for purpose, but placing prevention at the center and ensuring that the organization is better positioned to support the implementation of results on the ground to deliver on the 2030 Agenda. We have a roadmap for change, clear, ambitious mandates from the UN General Assembly, our member states, and we are moving forward with urgency. We know many of you are already engaged with the UN country teams to advance these reforms and to promote lasting change on the ground. At the end of this process, you can expect to see more cohesive, effective, responsive, and accountable UN country teams. We want to adapt more closely to the priorities and the needs of each developing country, with a much more empowered leadership for development, with much better coordination. Our resident coordinators will be critical to systemically leveraging the vast expertise and experience of the many assets of the United Nations, including our regional economic commissions and specialized agencies. We are currently reviewing these regional assets with the aim of maximizing our impact. The review is about designing tailor-made approaches for each region. There is no one size that fits all. Each region is unique and has its own specific challenges. We need a 21st century architecture that responds to the ambitious demands of the 2030 Agenda and our context in each region. On the 1st of January this year, we crossed a major milestone of the reform process with the creation of an independent and empowered system to coordinate all our development activities in each and every context of the United Nations. Now we have dedicated resident coordinators who give your full attention to coordination, policy, and partnerships. The UNDP can now fully take up its leadership position, focusing on the development mandate and reasserting its role as a thought leader that is deeply valued. Yesterday, I met with resident coordinators from this region who are here to engage in these regional discussions and return to each and every one of their countries and teams with new tools and new leadership to support you. I know they are, as we are, excited to proceed on this journey with you. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the clock is ticking on the 2030 Agenda, and the test of our reforms will be in the result in each and every one of your countries, but much more importantly, in the lives of your people. It is our collective responsibility to show greater urgency and to act now. I know that we have both the will, the energy, and the leadership in this conference to make this happen. In that spirit of partnership and shared endeavor, I wish you all the very best for a successful forum. I thank you.
السيدات
Ladies and gentlemen, our gathering here today showcases a series of activities, 9 specialized sessions in addition to the plenaries, and of course a media center at the opening of the ESQA, which we call upon you to visit in order to give your opinion when it comes to the sustainable development in the region. And there is as well a center for the publishing and for the which actually develops the role of ESQA regarding the Agenda 2030. And we have all the aspects that are developed. And what's very interesting is as well the competition for the best photography in sustainable development in the Arab world for the year 2019, which was organized by the ESQA, confident as it is that producing reality and showing this reality to the decision maker will definitely encourage change. This is why I am now honored to call on stage Her Excellency Mrs. Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, and Her Excellency the Executive Secretary of ESQA, Mrs. Rula Dashti, to come to the stand, please, to declare the names of the winners. The panel of the jury encompassed actually the unit on Agenda 2030 at the ESQA Library, as well as the Technology and Communications Unit at ESQA, as well as the UN Media Center in Cairo, Beirut, and Marrakesh, as well as the Faculty for Media and Documentation at the Lebanese University, as well as the Youth Forum for Youth, and the Forum for Youth. The number of participants is 44, coming from 11 Arab countries. The winner, or the winner of the third prize is Mrs. Angham As-Sarhi from the Republic of Yemen. She is very fond of photography and creativity. She is a graphic designer and she is in charge of the application designs at the Tech 5D Yemen, in addition to teaching photography for the students at the Science and Technology University.
الفائز بالجائزة.
The winner of the second prize is Mr. Mansour Mohsen Mahrous from the Republic of Yemen as well. He is the founder of the project Marhaban Bikfi, which is actually a pioneer project in the world. He's a member of the International Federation of Photography, and he's a photographer and a professional photographer and videographer. He had contributed to many exhibitions on the Arab and international levels. As for the winner of the first prize, Mr. Mohammed Ahmed Al-Azbawi from the Arab Republic of Egypt. He is a computer engineer and he is as well an amateur photographer since 2010, and he has won many local and international awards in the field of photography. He participated in around 40 joint exhibitions in several countries, including Egypt, Jordan, Oman, France, Austria, and Germany. We call on all the winners to please join us on the stage for a group picture.
أصحاب المعالي أصحاب السعادة.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, now we shall take a coffee break, after which we shall resume at 11 sharp to resume with the first plenary. Kindly take your belongings with you because, of course, the setup of the room will change. Thank you very much.